Rewatching great TV isn't just about seeing something you love again, it's about discovering everything you missed the first time around. Great storytelling is like a puzzle. The first time, you're focused on the big picture, the story, the twists, the surprises. But the second time around, you get to see how those pieces fit together. Suddenly, you'll notice a line of dialogue that changes everything, or a single look between characters that says more than words ever could. A rewatch lets you appreciate the craft, the subtext, and the layers of meaning that make a story timeless. Rewatching something great isn't just about nostalgia, it's about rediscovery. The shows I'm going to talk about today, Fargo, The Sopranos, and Unreal, are perfect examples of storytelling that rewards a second, third, or even a fourth look. They don't just entertain you the first time, they pull you back in because there's always something more to find. Let's start with Fargo, all seasons, 1 through 5. This anthology show is brilliant for so many reasons. Each season tells a different story, and they're all tied together only by the setting, the darkly comedic tone, and the overarching themes of greed, morality, and chaos. Season 1 is a brilliant homage to the Coen brothers' original movie. Billy Bob Thornton is in it, and he plays Lorne Malvo, which is one of the greatest TV villains of all time. He's this devilishly charming hitman who manipulates Martin Freeman's Lester Nygaard in ways that are as twisted as they are fascinating. I really enjoyed the first season, but it caught me a little off guard because I didn't understand that it was a reinterpretation instead of a remake, and it took me a couple of episodes to get to it. But by the end, I really appreciated the chess game of morality in a first season that really laid the foundation for all the 4 seasons that came after it. The second season is a prequel season that dives into a broader crime family narrative. It takes us all the way back to the 1970s with a gorgeous Midwestern 70s aesthetic that is executed with stunning detail. Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons play a bumbling couple who get kind of caught up in their deadly web of crime, which is one of the hallmarks of the Fargo series and the movie. It's all accident until you find out how deep you got. Their dynamic feels like watching a slow motion train wreck in the best possible way. It's really fun to see them get into trouble and wonder how or if they're even going to be able to get out of it at all. In season 3, Ewan McGregor plays twins, and while his dual role as brothers is very impressive, it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead stealing the show as Nikki Swango, a character as sharp as she is unpredictable. This season also has a phenomenal villain in VM Varga, who is total nightmare fuel. He's played by Peter Thewlis, I think you pronounce his name, and he just perfectly embodies the cold, bureaucratic face of evil. Beautifully, beautifully done. Season 4 is set in the 1950s. It looks beautiful. I love the snow. I love the colors. I love what this season tries to do. It tackles race and power and identity with an ambitious scope. It has Chris Rock, who is magnetic as Loy Cannon, but I never really feel him the way I want to. And as much as I love Timothy Olyphant, his U.S. Marshal is a great foil, but everything doesn't quite come together in this season. The narrative doesn't tie up every loose end for me. And while I admired how audacious the season was, I did find it the weakest of the first 4. Thankfully, season 5 more than made up for it. In season 5, Juno Temper delivers a career best performance as Dot Lyon, a woman whose secrets threaten to unravel her entire life. She's resilient, vulnerable, and endlessly compelling. And Jon Hamm delivers my favorite performance of his since Don Draper. He plays Sheriff Roy Tillman with a magnetic mix of menace and charm. This season balances the show's signature mix of dark humor and poetic violence while delivering a deeply personal, tightly woven story. Fargo proves that crime narratives can be art instead of cliche, and season 5 felt like a love letter to everything the show has been. Dark humor, moral dilemmas, and poetic violence, while also standing firmly on its own. On a rewatch, I noticed just how much Fargo uses its tone to tell the story. The dark humor is doing so much heavy lifting here. It's making you laugh at something that you know that you shouldn't be laughing at one moment, only to sucker punch you with violence or heartbreak in the next one. In season 2, the 1970s aesthetic isn't just a beautiful setting, it's a lens for themes of inevitability and chaos. And in season 5, Jon Hamm's Sheriff Roy Tillman, as charming as he is cruel, becomes even more chilling when you know where the story is going. Next up, we have The Sopranos, all 6 seasons. Rewatching this show felt like revisiting the godfather of modern TV drama. This show redefined what television could be and set the new standard. Let's talk about what made this show great. First off, nuanced characters. Tony Soprano isn't just an anti-hero, he's the anti-hero. James Gandolfini's layered performance brings humanity to a mob boss who's equal parts ruthless and vulnerable. Every character, from Carmela to Christopher to Dr. Melfi, is fully realized, and their arcs really stay with you. Moral complexity. One of this show's greatest strengths is how it forces the audience to grapple with their own sense of morality. Why do we root for Tony when he does such terrible things? All the time. A refusal to give easy answers is what makes The Sopranos timeless and paved the way for so many shows that lived in its wake. Cinematic storytelling. Episodes like Pine Barrens, with its botched hit in the snowy woods, or Funhouse, with its surreal, dreamlike sequences, are iconic. The pacing, the tension, the quiet moments of reflection, every frame in the show feels deliberate. The first time watching The Sopranos, I was swept up in the big moments. The betrayals, the power struggles, the shocking deaths. But rewatching it now, it's the quiet moments that stand out the most for me. The look between Carmela and Tony, a stray comment from Dr. Melfi, tiny details that tell you everything about a character's inner life. It's like watching a new show when you know what's coming, because now you can see how carefully it was all set up. What's most fascinating about watching The Sopranos now is seeing how much it influenced everything that followed, from Breaking Bad to Mad Men and Succession. TV is definitely a better, albeit a much darker place thanks to this David Chase masterpiece. The last show I want to tell you about today is Unreal. Again, all seasons, in this case it's 1 through 4. Cindy and I stumbled upon this hidden gem after it landed on Netflix late last year. This series offers a backstage pass to the chaos of reality television, specifically a fictionalized version of The Bachelor. So what made this show good enough to make it on my rewatch someday list already? Well, let's start with meta storytelling. On one level, Unreal is about the contestants and their journey on the dating show. But the real drama unfolds behind the scenes, where producers manipulate everything from who gets a rose to who has a meltdown. Complex characters. Rachel Goldberg is one of the most fascinating anti-heroes I've seen in years. She's brilliant at her job, horrifyingly ruthless, and deeply damaged. In a lot of ways, she reminded me a little bit of Don Draper, where her power with language, you could just throw her into any situation, and you knew she was gonna somehow get her way. Her mentor, Quinn, played by Constance Zimmer, is equally compelling. She's sharp, cynical puppet master who balances ambition with a surprising amount of vulnerability. The show also has a wonderful satirical edge. Unreal doesn't hold back when it comes to exposing the sexism, racism, and general exploitation that drive reality TV. It's biting, darkly funny, and often horrifying. But it never feels preachy, which is hard to pull off and wonderful when done. The show lets you draw your own conclusions while keeping you hooked on the same exact kind of soap opera antics that it's also very loudly condemning. The show has a great sense of shock factor. Just when you think it can't possibly go any darker, it does. Stakes escalate with each season, delivering twists that are shocking, but grounded in the world that it builds. Watching Unreal pulls back the curtain on an industry that thrives on manipulation and makes the viewer realize just how close to reality it might actually be. Rewatching a great series is like catching up with an old friend who's always had a lot more to say. Shows like Fargo, The Sopranos, and Unreal remind me of why I fell in love with storytelling in the first place. I already know what I'll be focusing on my next time through with Unreal, observing the subtle ways in which Rachel and Quinn's relationship evolves throughout all of the seasons. The shocking twist won't be surprising the second time around, so I'll be much more interested in how those two characters sacrifice themselves on repeat just for the sake of keeping the show alive. Every tiny betrayal hits harder when you know where it's all headed. The best stories aren't just about entertainment, they're about how we connect to ourselves and others. Whether it's unraveling the moral dilemmas of Fargo or seeing new shades of Tony Soprano, these shows remind me why I love storytelling. It's not just about watching, it's about learning and growing every time. What are the shows you love rewatching? Drop them in the comments. I'm always on the lookout for something great to rediscover. If you're a fan of storytelling in all its forms, hit subscribe and stick around for more videos just like this. And before you go, don't forget to grab your free copy of Americana. It's a story that's both familiar and entirely new, filled with the kinds of scenes and details you'll love telling your friends about. The link is in the description. See you tomorrow.